China has set its sights on South America. A new megaport on Peru's coastline that's part of China's Belt and Road Initiative.
China's Costco shipping company has just opened a megaport on the coast of Peru.
On Peru's Pacific coast, about 80 kilometers north of Lima, a quiet fishing town suddenly got a skyline of cranes, concrete, and heavy machines. The place is Chancay, and the project rising there is a megaport backed by China's shipping giant Costco, so big that it's being talked about as a new front door between South America and Asia. Calling it a secret gateway sounds like a spy movie, but the truth is almost the opposite. Leaders inaugurated the port in public during the APEC summit window, with Peru's President Dina Boluarte and China's leader Xi Jinping tied to the moment. It's not hidden. What's hidden is the bigger plan, what this port changes, and why powerful countries are watching it so closely. Ports don't usually feel dramatic, but they decide how fast your food moves, how cheap your electronics are, and which countries get to set the terms of trade. Chancay is being promoted as a project that can cut significant time off some export routes because bigger ships can sail more directly across the Pacific instead of taking longer paths through older bottlenecks. Here's the real hook. The United States is not treating this like just another port. In January 2026, reporting described the U.S. approving a possible $1.5 billion sale tied to Peru relocating its main naval base in Callao, part of a plan to expand the nearby commercial port that competes with Chancay. When ports start shaping defense moves in diplomacy, something bigger is happening. So what is Chancay really? It's a Chinese-Peruvian project. Reporting has described it as majority-owned by Costco Shipping, with Peru's Vulcan as the other major partner. And it has also been described as the first port in South America controlled by China, meaning not just built with Chinese money, but operated under Chinese majority ownership. You'll hear two money numbers tied to this port, and that confuses people on purpose. Some reports describe Chancay as a roughly $3.5 billion megaport project, while also describing around $1.3 billion in Chinese investment for the first phase, with expectations of more spending later. In plain words, the big total is the long build-out, and the smaller number is what got Phase 1 running. Now, about the phrase deep water port on South America's Pacific coast. Evidence is mixed on that exact wording because the region already has major ports. What we can say with stronger confidence is this: Chancay is built to accommodate very large cargo ships and enable more direct Asia routes, and it has been described as able to handle the Pacific coast's largest vessels. That capability, serving very large ships, drives the whole strategy. Costco has also promoted big capacity goals for the first phase, talking about container throughput on the order of about 1 million standard containers per year, plus large volumes of other cargo and thousands of direct jobs. Company claims are not the final word, but they show what the builder is aiming for, and they match the big hub story Peru is selling. And this isn't just a dock. A port is a system. Gates, customs, storage yards, roads, and often a logistics zone nearby. Peru has been pushing road work to improve the connection between Chancay and the main highway network, because without fast land links, even the biggest ships won't save time. So why does deep water matter in the real world? Because bigger ships can carry more cargo in one trip, which can lower the cost per container. The bet is simple. If Chancay can reliably host the biggest ships and load them fast, exporters can ship more directly to Asia instead of hopping through multiple ports. That's the gateway in one sentence. Costco has promoted direct routes connecting Shanghai and Chancay and talked about cutting transit time to around 23 days on those lanes. That number can shift with weather, port congestion, and schedules, but the message is clear. They want Chancay to feel like a straight line across the ocean, not a maze. From the exporter side, the 2-week idea shows up again and again. For some routes, more direct sailings can save serious time compared with older paths. When you're shipping fruit, seafood, or anything that loses value every day it sits, 2 weeks faster isn't a nice bonus. It can decide who wins the contract. This is where the Panama Canal enters the story. Reporting has described Chancay as a route that can help certain cargo flows avoid passing through the canal or taking longer Atlantic detours before heading to China. That doesn't mean the canal stops mattering. It means South America is trying to build more than one way out. And once a port starts running real routes, the map gets bigger fast. In April 2025, reporting described China's Guangzhou port launching a direct route to Chancay with a voyage around 30 days and a plan to move manufactured goods one way and South American products back. This is the port turning from a construction site into a living trade lane. Here's the twist most people skip. The fiercest battles aren't always about concrete, they're about rules. In March 2024, reporting described Peru's National Port Authority saying an administrative error had granted COSCO exclusivity over operations at Chancay, and that the authority asked through a judicial process to annul that decision.
That sounds technical, but it's a power lever. If one operator has exclusive rights, it can shape prices and access. Later reporting described Peru trying to avoid arbitration as tensions rose, while COSCO was still expected to spend around $1.3 billion on the first stage. When a port becomes an international legal dispute before it even opens, it's already geopolitical. Then came another pivot. Reporting described Peru cooling the dispute ahead of leader meetings in mid-2024, stepping back from trying to strip the exclusive rights. This isn't a neat good guys versus bad guys story. It's a government trying to balance investment, politics, and control without scaring away the biggest project on its coast. By April 2025, the fight showed up in tariffs. Peru's competition agency, Indecopi, said it concluded there were not competitive conditions in key port services at Chancay, which triggers a path toward regulation. The simplest translation is this: Peru worried the market might not discipline prices on its own, and the operator pushed back. The report described COSCO weighing legal action after Peru moved toward price controls. That tells you how sensitive this is. A port isn't just a place, it's a toll booth on national trade. Whoever sets the tolls quietly controls a piece of the future. Now we can answer the title's big question: why would China build a gateway in Peru? One answer is strategy through trade. Reporting has linked Chancay to China's broader Belt and Road push, and Peruvian officials have framed it as a hub between South America and Asia. In other words, it's a trade accelerator, and trade is power. There's also a very practical reason: resources. Reporting has described China as becoming South America's biggest trade partner over the last decade, pulling in copper, soy, and other raw materials. A port that makes those flows smoother and faster matters more than speeches do. So why is the US nervous? Reporting has described US and European officials viewing China's infrastructure spending as growing influence, and it has quoted warnings about possible political strings attached. That doesn't prove secret control, it proves something simpler. Ports change leverage, and leverage changes negotiations. Then there's the security debate, where we have to be careful. Reporting has described concerns in the US about possible military use of the port, while Chinese state-linked commentary has rejected those claims and called them smears. This is disputed territory. Concerns exist, but public evidence of intended military use is not conclusive, and both sides have incentives to frame the story their way. Competition is already reshaping Peru's coast. Reporting has described new expansion moves around Callao, Peru's main commercial port, and it has also described US involvement tied to relocating the naval base to enable that expansion. Chancay didn't replace Callao, it forced everyone to run faster. Here's what makes this port feel like a gateway instead of just infrastructure. It's designed to pull trade patterns west across the Pacific in a more direct line. Exporters and officials have pointed to time savings, and COSCO promotes direct routes and faster schedules. If enough cargo commits, Chancay becomes a new habit, and habits are hard to break. But ports can fail quietly too. If roads stay clogged, if regulation gets messy, if shippers don't trust schedules, or if politics turns every container into a headline. Peru's regulators have already signaled the country wants oversight where competition is weak, which means the rules layer will keep evolving even after the concrete is poured. So the secret gateway isn't a hidden door, it's a new option on the map, one that can help South America ship to Asia faster while also pulling Peru deeper into the US-China rivalry. The real secret is this: whoever controls the easiest routes doesn't just move goods, they get to shape what normal looks like for the next generation of global trade.